All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott at Black Hawk Technical College, and coming at you right now with a continuation of the independent lecture I've been doing for Chapter 4, More User Interface Fun, for our 152-153 Mobile Web Development iPhone class. And I'd left off last time, and one thing that I thought I did, but I guess I didn't do, is you were told here to highlight the view by coming down and in your document outline, literally clicking on view on the view controller to highlight all of it. Then I was supposed to go here and click on touchdown, hold down on the control, and copy that over to the view controller. All right. And you can see now the touchdown should be set up. Okay, so I think that's where I left off last time. For some reason it looks as though this isn't being set. I thought that it was, so. There we go, view controller background tab. I don't think that was set before. So, gets us to the middle of page 116, adding the slider and the label. As they mentioned, now it's time to add those, but before we place them, said let's add a little bit of breathing room in our design. Alright, so we're supposed to bring over a slider and arrange it below our number text field, putting it again way off to the right side. So in just a second, that is what I'm going to do. It's funny, what I'm trying to do here is set this up so I can be running both these, and for some reason just having some problems doing that. So alright, slider, there it is. So we want to put it down here, flush up to the right hand corner. For some reason it's not. I guess that's flush right there. Where we go. Alright, so we've done that. As it's shown there in your book, in figure 420 on page 117. It says a slider lets you choose a number within a given range. We know this already. So we'll use the inspector to set the minimum to 1, the maximum to 0, and the current to 50. And as it says, leave the events contiguous update box checked to ensure a continuous flow of events. Bring a label over, place it next to the slider, and align it vertically with the slider. So let's take a look at what that's supposed to look like. Alright, so right over here. So let's go in and do that. So first, let's go to the slider. Our attributes inspector, we want the minimum to be 1, the maximum to be 100, and we want the continuous updates to be checked. Good. So now we want to come over here and we want to add a label. We want to stick it flush against the left-hand side near where we have our other ones. Okay, that looks good there, as far as I can tell. So now my screen looks virtually identical to what you see on page 118 in the text. Alright, it says double-click the newly placed label and change its text from label to the number 100, which is the largest value that it can hold. It says since it's shorter than the label, Interface Builder automatically makes the label smaller than for you. Okay, it says despite this, you're still free to resize it if you want. If you later decide you want to, you can do that. Alright, next resize the slider by single-clicking on it and basically lining it up as close as possible as you can to the text boxes. So we're going to first start here, double-click, put in 100. Got that done. Alright, then come over to our slider here. We're going to drag it over so it's the same width, and we'll use the blue guidelines that we had over there. Alright? Okay. So, as far as I can tell, everything's looking okay. Double-click the newly placed label. We just did that. Yeah, we just did all that. Okay. Adding more constraints. Now that you've added 2 more controls, we need to add the matching auto layout constraints. We'll do it again the easy way by selecting the view controller icon, then editor, resolve layout issues, add missing constraints. All right, I'll come back to the that's not all in just a second. Well, let's look. It says that's not all though. Since we move the text fields and labels down a little bit to space out our design, we need to update their constraints. If you don't do this, you'll see warnings. To fix this, select the view controller and do edit, resolve auto layout issues, update constraints. Okay, let's do both. All right, so editor, resolve layout issues. Sorry, I'm just not with it. Editor, resolve layout issues. All right, and we'll do an add missing constraints. Oh, and I'm sorry, before we do that, we're supposed to select the entire view controller here. There we go. Editor, resolve layout issues, add missing constraints. Now, I didn't really move mine very much, so I don't know if I'm going to have to do an editor, resolve layout, update constraints. I guess I don't have to. All right, and that's what they showed here on the bottom of page 118. So I think I've done everything. Creating and connecting the actions and outlets. Says all that's left to do with these is to connect the outlet and the action. We need an outlet that points to the label so we can manipulate or update its value. Okay, so we want to do that. Make sure you're in the assistant layout editor. Control drag from the slider. And we want to call this slider changed in the name field. And change the type to UI slider and hit return. So let's do that first. So that slider changed. Bring up our assistant editor. We really don't need this for at least for now, so I can remove the project navigator to give my, oops, I thought I did remove it. That's the document outliner. So I can remove that for a second to give myself a little bit more room. Technically, I probably don't even need it. Okay, I'm going to click here, highlight the slider, control, drag from here, add yet another, and we're supposed to call that slider changed, and make sure the type is set to UI slider, which it is. So we've added yet another variable right here. It's going to hold basically, so as we move the slider around, that value will change in just a minute. To do that, as it says, we want to control drag from the label, call that slider label. So let's do that. Let's give myself a little room here. So that was slider label. Okay, so that's done. It's coming, I think it's coming together pretty well here. All right, so implementing the action method. All right, when I set this up originally, I stupidly, control drag, boom, 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 window appears, click the connection field. I didn't change the type to action on the other one. And I'm going to try something here, because what I'm supposed to be able to do is Command-Z my way back. So hopefully I just did that. All right, we'll find out in a bit. Let's do this. Control, drag. This time, what I want to make sure that is not an outlet, but an action. And again, this was to be called slider changed. This was to be changed to UI slider. And everything else, as far as I know, looks okay. And then I was supposed to, that one I've already done, so I don't have to redo that one. So that should be, hopefully that's everything I was supposed to do. Give myself a little bit of room right there, and hit enter there. Okay, now I think I'm all back caught up again. So, it says here, though the X code has changed, we should add the following code in here. So let me just, literally, I'm trying to save a little bit of, trying to save a little bit of time here. So I was just going to manually add it. Rather than manually add it, I should say I was going to just copy it in. Use of unresolved identifier. Let progress equal L round F sender dot value, which should be okay. Slider label dot text. Oh, I guess I removed the slider label too. I didn't realize that, so I will add it back. Oh, when I Control Z'd my way out, that's what I did. That's correct. So I've got to go back and re-add slider label from here. Not a problem. Try it again. So that was slider label. Everything else should be set correctly. And now that error should go away. And it does. Okay. So as mentioned here, this first line retrieves the current value from the slider and rounds it to the next integer. The next one basically places it inside of the label, or makes a copy of it. All right. Then we're supposed to also come into our viewDidLoad and make sure that at the beginning that we set the slider's value to 50. All right, so that when we start, it's right in the middle. Now, is it is it necessary that you do that? I mean, is it absolutely mandatory? No. We could have easily gotten away without doing it, but there's nothing wrong with doing it either. Okay, hit enter here like I usually do. Okay, it's coming together. Good time to do a file save. All right, now I'm over here. Okay. It says, now apart from the text it contains, you don't actually see the label itself, so you can't see its size changing. But what you will see is with the slider changes, along with it, it actually will. And if that doesn't make sense, you'll see it when we run it in just a minute. It says this isn't exactly what we asked for. You can override the behavior by selecting the label in the storyboard and select Editor Pin Width from the menu. This makes the new priority constraint that tells the system don't play with the width of the label. So Editor Pin Width. With that highlighted, Editor Pin thought it was Editor Pin Width. Select Editor Pin Width select the label from your storyboard and select Editor Pin Width from the menu. Do this just to be sure I'm getting the right one. Okay, probably not a bad time either to do an editor to highlight the view controller, and again do an editor resolve auto layout issues, update constraints, and an editor resolve auto layout issues, update frames. Okay, now I may or may not have needed to do that, but I think it just helped clean everything up a little bit. So, implementing the action method. Says add the following code to the slider changed method. I think we already did this. We've already done that. So we're down to here, We're down to the implementing the switches. Boy, oh boy. Button and segmented controls. Before we do that, let's go back to the program and let's do a file save, and let's try to run it and see if, at least as of right now, if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Again, I'm now on up to about page, the bottom part of page 120. Probably won't finish this, but I'd at least like to get to, I don't know, page 125 or so. Actually, ideally to page 131. What I don't finish, I'll attempt to finish tonight when I get home. Sorry, this is taking a little longer than planned. Rather take my time doing this, make mistakes, because I'm naturally making some, and hopefully those are the same kind you'll make. So if you watch this video, it'll be of some help to you. Now, as oftentimes happens, the first time I bring this up, I might have lost my connection. It doesn't say I did. But I'm going to stop the simulator and start it again. Again, oftentimes that happens here. I have to quit it, then I have to start it again. Let's see if that comes up this time. So again, I've come in, added the image view up here, added a label and a text view, a label and a text view, and a label and a slider. All right. So what's left is to implement the switches, the button, and the segmented control, which is really pages 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 129, 130, and then we get into the last part, which is the action sheet and the alert. Still not sure why this is taking so long and why it almost looks as though there's an error here. I have no idea what the error could be because I don't think I did anything that would cause an error. But it's got a thread kill here, and usually that's bad news. So I'm going to come in here and do my OS simulator and quit the simulator. See if I can bring this up and look here. Due to an uncaught exception. Okay, I'll see if I can fix that in a bit. Not sure exactly what happened there. Now, what we're told here, at least, what we want to do next, come on back over here. There you go. That should have been set to 50, and it's not. I'm not sure why. Just looking at the code, it looks like what I put in here was correct. So, all right. Back in Xcode once again. It says this is get you dizzy jumping back and forth between Xcode and where we are right now and your source code, etc. So the app will have two switches, which are small controls that can have only two states, on and off. We'll also add a segment and control to hide and show the switches, and a button that is revealed when the segment and control's right side is tapped. So it says, let's implement these next. Back in the storyboard is shown here on page 119 of the book. It says, find a segment and control from the object library and place it in the view window a little below the slider and horizontally center. Alright, so we want to come down here and find a segment and control. There it is. Drag it down here. So I'm going to try to basically line it up here with what we had up here in the image view. And they mention that on page 121. The author says, to give you a sense of the spacing we're looking for, take a look at the image view and the press logo. We try to leave about the same amount of space above and below. Okay, so again, that's what I tried to do. Double click the word first and change it to switches. And double click the one that says second and change it to button. Alright, so it is now looking very similar to what you see in the book on page 122 here in figure 4-23. Next, we're told to grab a switch from the library and place it on the view below the segment and control and against the left margin, and then put another one and drag it up to the right margin. So, ideally what we're going to have in just a minute, when I go back into Xcode, into the storyboard, is to do this. So I've got so far this, and this, and I've got to add these two switches right now. And that puts us on the page again, 123 in our book. Alright, so I'm going to come down here. Move this over so I can see all of it. There we go. And put my first switch over here, and they say to butt it up, line it up with the left edge, so there it is. And then put another one over here and butt it up or line it up both with the right edge and make it even with the other one. So there we go. Now, I'm looking at this and it looks as though there's more room here than there is here. Now that just may be a misnomer. I may be totally wrong there. I don't know. Alright? But I'm hoping once I run this, it's going to look okay. Alright, the three new controls we've added need layout constraints. This time we'll add the constraints manually. Start by selecting the segment and control and pinning it to the center of the view with an editor align horizontal container, center and container. So click here, click down here, and horizontal, center, and container. All right. Next it says select a segment and control with the mouse, and then control drag upward a little until the background of the main view turns blue. Oops, sorry. Again, a lot of times I end up going back into bringing up the document outliner again. All right. Well, whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing it correctly. There's the segment and control. It should be highlighted now. So select it with a mouse, then control drag upward a little until the background turns blue. And this is not happening. I can do that, but I try one more time. Oh, the background's not turning blue. And what I'm getting here is not what I'm supposed to be getting, so move that over. Top space to layout guide. Okay, that's what it said, so that's what I did it. Alright, now let's deal with the switches. Control drag from the left switch diagonally left and upwards towards the 10 o'clock position relative to the switch, and hold down on the mouse. Select leading space to container margin and top space to layout guide. So I'm going to hold down on Shift, leading space to container margin, and top space to layout guide. Press return, and do a similar thing with the one on the right, but this time use trailing space to container margin, but do it to the right. Okay, so do it to the 2 o'clock position. Shift, when you apply constraints by dragging, Xcode offers you different options depending on the direction in which you drag. Hopefully I did it correctly. Alright, hit enter. So those hopefully are done now. Now, we're not told to do this, but this looks so funky over here. Then I'm going to come back up again and select my view controller and do another editor, resolve layout issues, update constraints, and an editor resolve layout issues. I guess I don't have to update the frames. It's grayed out, so evidently that's the way it's supposed to be. Alright, so connecting and creating outlets and actions. If you are following along, thank you. I'm on page 124. Before we add the button, we'll create outlets for the 2 switches and connect them. The button we'll be adding will actually sit on top of the switches, which will make it harder to control drag from them. So using the assistant editor, control drag from the left switch just below the last outlet in the viewcontroller.swift file. So let me, for now, here we go. Let's bring this back. All right. Using the assistant editor, control drag from the left switch to just below the last outlet, and we're supposed to name this left switch and then do the other one and name it right switch. So control drag, left switch, connect, that one is in there, and do the same thing from the right. Control drag, right switch, and now that's in there. Alright, looking pretty good as far as I can tell. Now select the left switch again by single clicking it. Control drag it again one more time to the assistant, once more to the assistant editor. In fact, let's do a file save. We haven't saved in a bit. Before, drag it. This time, drag it to just above the brace at the end of the class declaration before letting go. When the pop-up appears, change the connection field to action, and this time name the new action switch changed and set its type to UI switch. Alright, next hit return to create the action, then repeat it, but we'll use a single method. So this is the almost smack dab in the middle of the page on page 124. So I want to get down to the bottom here. Alright, open up a little bit of area. In fact, I'm going to open up a lot of area just so I can make sure I move it down. So, click on here, control drag, bring it down here. And this time we want to make this an action. We want to make sure that its type is UI switch. And we want the name of this action to be switch changed. Okay, and connect. Alright, created that. That looks fine. Now we want to also make this the action for our right switch, but rather than duplicating that, we just want to drag it in, and once it turns gray, remember from the last chapter that that'll mean that it's set up. So, alright, so they're both connected now. So it says look for the switch change method that you added, and again, as I have been doing, I'm just going to add the text from the book here. Save me a little bit of time as far as typing goes. So I just did this. Let's do the implementing. So this is what I want to add. Oops. Copy. Paste. Alright, let's go back into the book here and look and see what we just did and what it does. Alright, so I'm on the implementing the story or the switch actions on the bottom of page 124. It says switch changed is called whenever one of the switches is tapped. In this method, we simply grab the value on the property of the center, which represents the switch it was pressed, and use it to set both switches. The idea here is that setting the value of one switch will change the value of the other switch at the other time, keeping them in sync at all times. Now, sender is always going to be either left switch or right switch, so you might be wondering why we're setting them both. The reason is practicality. It involves less work. Alright, so I'm up to page 125. Go back into Interface Builder. Drag a button from the library. Add this button directly on top of the leftmost switch. Align it with a left margin and vertically aligning it with the top edge of the two switches. Then grab the resize handle and stretch it all the way until it's basically over the other switch. The button should completely overlay the space occupied by the two switches because the default button is transparent and you'll see the switches. So ideally when we get done, it's going to look the way that it does in figure 426 on the top of page 126. So what we want to do is we want to add this stuff as shown here and make it look like this. Okay? So I'm going to come down here, button, drag my button out, basically align it right here, all the way over to the left. There it is. Take it, drag it all the way over to the right. Okay, so this now looks the way it does in figure 426 on page 126. Double click the button and give it text that says do something. The button needs auto layout constraints. We're going to pin it to the top and to both sides of the main view. Control drag upward until it turns blue, release it, and choose top space to layout guide. Alright, so we want to say top space to layout guide. Alright, then control drag horizontally until again the background turns blue and choose leading space to container margin. You'll only get this option if you drag far enough to the left, so if you don't see it, try again. I don't want that. I'm still not doing it correctly. Let's go back to here. Let's choose, notice where our constraints are really piling up here. There's our do something. Well, I'm not able to do this. We want to control drag to the left so we get leading space to container margin, and then control drag to the right until we get trailing space to container margin. All right, once we do that, then we're supposed to be able to go in and run the app. Well, until I do that, I don't want to run the app. See, I keep getting that, which is not what I want. Not getting it. Hold shift to select multiple. I don't want to do that either. It's not working correctly for me. Don't know if this will help or even if I should be doing this, but I'm going to try to come in and do another editor, resolve layout issues, update constraints, and editor, resolve layout issues, update frames. All right. I was hoping that would make this a little easier to work with, but maybe I made it harder. I don't know. Well, there's my button. That's not what I wanted. So let me do a Command Z to bring that button back again. Okay. When I keep going here, even if I go all the way to the end almost, all I'm getting is that, which is not what I want. So this is not working correctly. Boy, oh boy. Doesn't matter if I go there. Well, there it did say leading space to container margin. Okay. Trailing space to container margin. Hopefully I'm doing this correctly. So let's save. And let's run it. Hopefully it'll run before it was blowing up because I had some error in here, but hopefully it won't blow up now, but we'll find out. Ideally, I'm on the bottom of page 126, but if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to just call it a period for now and go back and see if I can fix it. Not in real bad shape here because I have about 10 pages to go. All right, and then we're finished with the chapter. It terminated again with an uncaught exception of type NS exception. So something I've done is making this blow up. Found undefined key. This class is not key value compliant for the key slider changed. something in my slider change that I put in the system does not like. And as you know, this is what a lot of this stuff is about, is going in there and trying to debug, etc. There's something in here that it doesn't like. Slider label, looks okay. Progress, sender, that's all correct. As far as I can tell, that's all correct. So I'm going to stop right now, save this, and see if tonight when I go home I can finish this up. I'm on the bottom of page 126, so I'm making project progress, slowly but slowly. All right, I'll do the best I can to get that done and out there on the system by tomorrow morning. So hopefully I had no problems taping there, and I'll put this out on the system as soon as I possibly can. Yesterday when I did the lecture in class, I had some problems. I told it to stop and start saving. It saved, but only 15K, which was a problem, so I told it to do it again, which was a problem. And then later, I told it to do it again, but unbeknownst to me, the program had been running the entire time. So there's an extra half hour on it. So tonight I want to figure out how to cut that half hour, which is just garbage. I want to be able to cut the text and the audio and the video out, and then I'll put that up there also.